Good morning from Warsaw. You're watching World News on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. We'll begin this news bulletin with the latest from Poland. On Monday at midnight, Poland reopened its road border crossings with Belarus in Kuźnica and Bobrowniki. According to the Polish Ministry of Internal Affairs, the move was possible only after more security measures were put in place along the Polish Belarusian border, where large-scale attempts to illegally enter Poland continue.
The crossing in Kuźnica had been closed for the past 4 years, while the one in Bobrowniki for over 2.5 years. The decision was made after consultations with local authorities and entrepreneurs from the Podlasia region, who had long been demanding the opening of at least one crossing. So far, only passenger traffic has been restored in Kuźnica, while both passenger and freight traffic can now move through Bobrowniki. The border crossings between Poland and Belarus were closed several years ago due to the migration crisis. At the time, Polish authorities said they were forced to take such action due to lack of response from Belarus to attempts by organized groups of illegal migrants to cross the border into Poland.
Staying on Poland, while the country may have been the target of an act of infrastructural sabotage, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said on Sunday. His remarks referred to an incident involving one of the country's major railway lines.
Around 1 meter of tracks has been suspiciously removed from a major railway line in Poland. The damage, fortunately, has not led to an accident, but the authorities are investigating whether this wasn't an act of infrastructural sabotage. The damage was discovered on Sunday morning by a train operator who drove over the damaged track. Polish police have sealed off the area, saying the removal looks intentional, though at the moment the perpetrator and motive are not known.
I am in constant contact with the Minister of Internal Affairs regarding the destruction of a section of the tracks on the Dęblin-Warsaw route. It's possible we're dealing with an act of sabotage. No one was injured. The appropriate services are investigating.
The damaged line is one of the most important in Poland, running from the capital city of Warsaw to the Poland-Ukraine border. The damage has been spotted near the city of Dęblin, where the Polish Air Force has its academy.
And now moving on to Ukraine. Russia launched a missile strike on Ukraine overnight Sunday, targeting Kharkiv and Odesa. 3 people were killed and 11 others injured across the two regions. Now, according to Kharkiv regional officials, multi-story apartment buildings as well as cars were destroyed in the attack. And you can see footage right there on the screen is one of the damaged buildings with blown-out windows, flames on an upper floor, and debris and broken tree branches littering the area. In Odessa, fires broke out in an energy and port infrastructure facility. Russia has rained down regular missile, drone, and artillery strikes on the two regions for many months, destroying houses and severing power lines. Addressing some 40,000 people gathered in St. Peter's Square for the Angelus prayer on Sunday, Pope Leo XIV called for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Condemning the ongoing suffering of civilians after the latest bombings across the country, the Pope urged the world not to grow accustomed to war and destruction.
I follow with sorrow the news of the attacks that continue to strike numerous Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv. They cause deaths and injuries, including children, and extensive damage to civilian infrastructure, leaving families without homes as the cold sets in. I express my closeness to the population so severely tested. We cannot grow accustomed to war and destruction. Let us pray together for a just and stable peace in the war-torn Ukraine.
U.S. President Donald Trump said on Sunday that his administration is working on legislation to impose additional sanctions on Russia and Iran. According to the president, the new measures would apply to any country conducting business with either of the two states.
Well, I hear they're doing that, and that's okay with me. They're passing legislation, or the Republicans are putting in legislation that very tough. It's sanctioning, et cetera, on any country doing business with Russia. They may add Iran to that, as you know. I suggested it. So any country that does business with Russia will be very severely sanctioned. We may add Iran to the formula, yeah.
With winter setting in, Ukraine has gained an important lifeline for its energy security. Kyiv has finalized an agreement with Greece to allow American liquefied natural gas to flow into the country from December through to March of next year. The deal comes at a critical time as Russia's infrastructure strikes intensify. After leaving Greece, Zelensky will visit France and then Spain, where he will discuss further gas deliveries and appeal for more military support for Ukraine.
It was all smiles in Athens as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis welcomed a critical agreement for the embattled country's energy security.
Our agreements with Greece today are an important part of the large energy package that we've prepared for this winter to provide Ukraine with gas.
Originating from the US, the fuel will arrive to Ukraine's Odesa via the so-called vertical gas corridor, moving from a Greek port of Alexandroupolis through Bulgaria, Romania and Moldova. The deal, set to run from December through March 2026, comes amidst increased Russian strikes on energy infrastructure, which at one point in October had taken more than half of Ukraine's gas production capacity offline.
Ukraine has relied heavily on gas extracted from its own production sources. Before the war, they covered about 70 to 80% of the country's demand for natural gas. Now that domestic production is severely hindered.
Not only will the deliveries from Greece help Ukraine survive the winter, according to the Greek PM, they will also contribute to the entire continent's efforts to wean off Russian gas.
Without a doubt, all these developments are pivotal on the path toward a definitive break from Russian natural gas, because Europe will stop purchasing Russian gas, which will no longer be able to enter our continent in disguised form.
Experts say that Poland is in contention for becoming a natural gas hub for the CEE region, even more so after the completion of the country's second LNG terminal.
Poland has all the resources needed to become a gas trader, to become an intermediate in gas trade all over the Central and Eastern Europe.
Poland already provides Ukraine with natural gas, last month covering 40% of the country's total imports. For TVP World, Jan Kennedy.
Aalborg Airport in Denmark was forced to shut down on Sunday evening due to suspected drone activity. According to North Jutland police, one or more drones may have been spotted near the airport, prompting officers to begin surveying the area shortly after receiving the initial report. Now, with the airspace closed, the flights from Copenhagen were cancelled or delayed. A flight from Amsterdam was also diverted to Billund Airport. The Aalborg airfield was recently closed for several hours at the end of September after similar drone sightings. At that time, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen described the incident a hybrid attack, though without specifying who was responsible. Poland's military now has more than 200 South Korean self-propelled howitzers in service after the latest batch arrived on Sunday. Poland has been investing heavily in new military equipment since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now, the K9 howitzers are set to become one of the Polish Army's primary artillery systems. Poland has a $2.4 billion contract for the delivery of 212 of these vehicles, a deal that is now close to completion. The country has also ordered an additional 150 units, which will include Polish-made equipment for $2.6 billion. In total, Poland intends to procure 672 South Korean howitzers, making Warsaw the second largest operator of K9 systems in the world after South Korea. The German auction house Felsman set up a bidding for Monday featuring a private collection of documents and memorabilia from German World War II concentration camps and the communist-era Katyn massacre. Now, the auction prompted a swift response from both the Polish government and groups representing Holocaust survivors.
The private auction, called A System of Terror 1933 to 1945 Part 2, included as many as 623 different items that belonged to the victims of German and Soviet aggressions, including private tools, letters, and documents. Radosław Sikorski, the Polish foreign minister, has actively lobbied German authorities to stop the auction.
I spoke with the German foreign minister regarding the planned auction in Neuss of the personal items of victims of German terror during the Second World War. We agreed that such an outrage must be prevented.
Following the outpouring of criticism against the auction, the International Auschwitz Committee, which represents survivors of the Holocaust, has protested against it.
Survivors of the Holocaust and their families consider the announced auction of the personal documents of victims of the Nazi dictatorship to be a cynical and shameless undertaking.
The committee's statement was seconded by multiple Polish government representatives who highlighted that selling personal artifacts tarnishes the memory of those who suffered in the camps.
The Polish government has always strongly and clearly maintained that items which were taken from Poland, stolen from Poland, or are important to Polish society should be recovered and should stay in Poland. In this matter, our position has never changed.
We must recognize one thing and, above all, condemn the trade of such items. This is reprehensible. We cannot allow a situation when memorabilia of people who suffered and died in Nazi extermination camps are put up for sale and become objects through which people want to earn money. This is simply disgusting.
The auction also prompted a reaction from the Polish president, Karol Nawrocki.
Polish President Karol Nawrocki expects the Polish government to demand the return of all the souvenirs from the victims of German crimes on Polish lands. The cost should be added to the overall reparations bill.
Following the adamant criticisms of the auction by the Polish authorities, the selling has been deleted from the House's website.
Ambassador Jan Tombiński, who has been intervening with the authorities of Westphalia on this matter for several days, informed me that all the artifacts have already disappeared from the website of the scandalous auction.
After the cessation of the auction house added that the aim of private collectors is to uphold the memory of the past, not to make money off human suffering. It has also been reported that the first part of the auction took place 6 years ago, and most of the memorabilia was acquired by American buyers. Now, whether more of these auctions will happen in the future, it depends on the actions of governments and individuals.
The Polish women's tennis team has won against Romania in a qualifying round of the Billie Jean King Cup that took place in Poland. Linda Klimowiczowa, Iga Świątek, and doubles players Katarzyna Kawa and Martyna Kubka secured victories in all matches. Świątek, this year's Wimbledon winner, won 6-2, 6-0 in a match against Romanian Gabriela Lee. This is the 64th victory Świątek has racked in this year, which means she's secured the most victories among all female players in the world for a fourth year in a row. The win against Romania means the Polish team will be able to take part in next year's final qualification round for Billie Jean King Cup, a team tennis tournament for women. And we have now more news coming in. Polish Premier Donald Tusk has said that actually an explosion is what happened as part of the railway track going on between Warsaw and Lublin, and he called it an act of diversion. We will be coming to you in our next bulletin with more details. Stay with us here on TVP World.